realized I started talking and I wasn't turned on yet. Good morning. How are you?
Awesome and amazing. And yourself?
Awesome and amazing. The sun is shining finally, and the real estate market is shining too. So we're excited about that. Okay. Toya, let's jump in because we got an enormous amount of stuff to talk about today.
All right.
So just starting off with the numbers. This is Fulton County. Fulton County's got 926 active. How do we feel about that number? I think it's a strong number for a spring market. 2 weeks ago, we crested 1,000 actives, but 926 is pretty healthy. Fulton County, 128 active under contract in the last 7 days. That's a little bit down from the week before, but remember, I don't look at numbers on a week to week basis. We really kind of look at it on a trend, right? Yet to me, that's still 130 homeowners that said yes to this environment, right?
Absolutely.
Um, 35 coming soon, 290 are currently pending in Fulton County, and almost 300 closed in the last 7 days. At the end of last month, we closed 372. And the end of the month before that, we closed 333, 235, 314. So we are definitely spring market flying high. What do you
Absolutely.
think?
I do. I like the numbers. And I know that we'll see more coming in June. So just pay attention. But I also like to look at expireds and withdrawns as well. So those are just areas of opportunities.
What do you see there?
So just even looking at the expireds, I mean, if you think about where we were on the 13th, we were pretty much the same, but check out May 6th. Goodness, 157 expireds. And so we kind of saw that with withdrawals as well, but more so just a lot of opportunity there. So I would certainly look at those numbers.
Yeah, I think we went through a period of time where ugly houses were selling, it's fair to say.
Yes.
Uh, and there wasn't a lot of expired. So I think there's a lot of agents that left the calling expired listings as a strategy because it really wasn't a strategy
Mhm.
that was very fruitful for a number of years. However, make sure we are in a very litigious environment right now. You do not want to be a cold calling agent if you're not really tight on your TCPA friendly cold calling, yet it's still a great strategy, right?
Excellent strategy.
Yeah. Cobb County inventory came up to 515. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, somebody just texted me said they can't see my screen. Um,
We can.
okay, so 515 active inventory, which is really high in Cobb County. 108 active under contract, which I just said yes. And then 236, which, if I'm not mistaken, that's the highest it's been in pendings in Cobb County.
It has.
Um, and then 198 closings outside of a couple that went over 200.
Mhm.
It's flying high in Cobb County. And then DeKalb County, 539 active inventory, really high supply, 85 active under contract, a little bit lull here. So we saw a little lull in Fulton. We saw a little lull in uh, DeKalb, but not in Cobb. And then 170 are pending. This number bounces, but 170 is still a strong number for May 20th going into the weekend, and 205 closings in the last 7 days.
That's awesome.
Uh, you know, Toya, I could allow my mindset to go down a path of high interest rates, low affordability. Nobody's buying real estate right now. And I could follow that pathway, or I could look at these numbers and go, man, quite a few people are buying and selling real estate right now. I need to see this as optimism, as opportunity, and go find mine. What do you think?
I would 100% agree. I always tell people, in any real estate market, real estate sells. It just depends on, are you selling in the market and where are the opportunities for you?
Yeah, for sure. All right, I want to hit some talking points real quick. So, a guy I know sent me notes from Gary Keller's private mastermind last week, and these are Gary's comments about the market. And he said, one, markets always have cycles. Obviously, they cycle up and they cycle down. But his advice to the top agents was ensure your business can withstand these fluctuations. Remember, even when you are up, there will be a down. Can your business survive the downturns? So, I mean, yes. However, we are in a downturn right now. And if you can survive the downturn, that you should believe or hear that you're a good business person. And you've built a solid business foundation that survives every market. And if you're struggling right now, maybe it's a consulting opportunity going, maybe I'm missing some foundational pieces in my business that need to be there because I am struggling a little bit.
Yeah. And then I think you have to ask yourself the question, leads and quality of leads, all leads are not created equal. And then the other part is, how well are you on converting your leads? How are you really designing yourself to find out the opportunities with programs in the market? So I think it is truly, truly optimism that we can look at, but really kind of getting those basic foundations down.
Absolutely. All right. Current market, real estate's in a recession, not enough supply, but the overall economy is not. We've been talking about this. This is a first. Usually the economy and real estate go up and down together. And right now the economy is good, but real estate's in a little bit of a recession, which is uncharted waters, as they might say. However, high inflation prevents reasonable changes to mortgage rates. Although, Toya, inflation numbers came in decent last week. So we actually saw mortgage rates come down. I had somebody screenshot like a moment in time last week where there was a 6.99% interest rate. I looked this morning and I think we're at, let me refresh, 7.09 right now on the 30-year fix. But I think there are people with a credit that are getting below a 7 right now, which I think is really, really good, right?
Absolutely.
Um, and the market consists of people who need to buy or sell for life reasons, not for profit. So people aren't just cashing out, they aren't buying for pleasure, they're buying for life reasons right now. Market dynamics, homeowners with locked in lower interest rates are staying put. This is what's causing the supply shortage.
Mhm.
Population growth continues to push demand, new households, marriages, renters, buying, etc. I need you to pay attention to this because I'm going to show you some numbers here in a minute where Atlanta is just crushing it. And in population growth, and I think that's why our market is better than others. I don't think, I know that's why. New demand drives prices and appreciation. You're going to see that here shortly. And then the last one was long-term perspective, aim for a great career, not just a great year. We all had great years during the pandemic, but the goal is to have a great career.
Mhm.
Tough years happen, but you can still have a successful career. Read The Long Game by Dory Clark. Avoid short-term thinking. Achieve freedom by building a resilient business and doing what you love daily. I got somebody that
Yeah.
put in the chat, please explain how we are in a recession downturn in our market right now. So what that means is, if you just look on our real estate stats, um, and if we look home sales by year, let's just do Greater Atlanta. Um, we did 54,000 transactions last year, and you got to go back to almost 2012 or 2013 to see that kind of transactional volume, where we peaked at 83,000 transactions. So there's obviously a dip going on in our business, and we're hoping 2023 was the bottom and we're on our way back up. But the fact is the transaction volume says we're in a recession. Pricing is a relationship between supply and demand. So some people might struggle with the word recession because they are still seeing prices appreciate, right? Anything you'd add, Toya?
I would just say this is the cycle. You're absolutely right. And you can tell in 2022 and 23 is when we had the interest rate shock. So of course, value stayed the same. However, transactions went down.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So a couple cool things. Remember I said population growth continues to push demand, new household marriages, renters buying, etc. New demand drives prices and appreciation. So Atlanta Journal of the Constitution, the AJC, the city of Atlanta surpasses 500,000 residents growth among the largest in nation. And if you read further, the city added 12,000 new residents between 2022 and 2023. The city of Atlanta is over 500,000 people at this point in time. Then you go to, let me see if I can find it.
Can I add to that while you're searching
Yeah.
the one? Well, maybe it's this article. One of the things that we saw in the pandemic was that people actually left Atlanta.
Yeah.
So they went to the suburbs, they, went other places, and now we're seeing an influx of people coming back into Atlanta. So we're also seeing relocation companies that are relocating employees here. So that's a growth pattern. So those are some of the factors that kind of assisted in growing the city.
Absolutely. And that's the city.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the city of Atlanta, same stat, added more than 12,000 residents, da 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 da. But it's the sixth uh, largest metro growth city. Um, the Atlanta population grew 2.4% last year, outpaced several of the city's suburb neighborhoods, including Brookhaven was 2%, Alpharetta was 1.9, Milton was 0.2, and Dunwoody was 0.1. And then you saw some of the suburbs like Roswell, Johns Creek, and Sandy Spring lose population, but that just says people are moving back into the city.
That's all it is. Yep.
Yeah. They're
Well,
moving back inside the loop a little bit.
mhm. And part of that was due to the fact that now corporations are coming and you're having to go back into an office maybe a couple of days a week instead of just working remotely.
Yeah. And most of the suburbs that bested Atlanta were Douglasville, Gainesville, McDonough, and Snellville. So obviously, further out areas are experiencing more growth, but why? And I'll tell you what I believe, Toya. I believe affordability is driving the growth of some of the outlying areas because the cost of real estate in some of those areas is less expensive. And people are having to go further out to find affordable housing. And I also believe there's a movement of people going back into the city, like we talked about.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Um, but anyway, you can see on here, Atlanta was the sixth on population growth in the country,
Mhm.
which is pretty doggone cool. Um, but all right, I think population is why it's key. Um, and then what did I miss? Okay, couple things you need to know, and then we'll talk about some articles. Um, Keller Williams, the title says Keller Williams retreats on profit sharing cuts for defecting agents. Basically, what you need to know, you might see some headlines. Keller Williams, a few years back, passed some changes through the um, International ALC and said if somebody were to leave our company and go to a competing brokerage and they were competing against us, then they were going to reduce the profit share dollars that we had paid them. Yet we're in a highly litigious environment right now. The market's down, and everybody believed and voted with the belief that we don't need the distraction of this right now. So they pulled those changes back. It's not crazy headline news. It's just, I wanted to make sure we mentioned it in case you read an article. It just means that we pulled back the changes because we don't want the distraction of what our core business is, which is buying and helping people buy and sell real estate at the highest level, right?
Absolutely. And I think the other thing that I would add with that, just behind the scenes, we didn't want it to affect our current agents and associates and staff members. So just picking your battles and when to actually pick that battle was one of the reasons we just decided to retreat.
There you go. All right. 400,000 homes in Atlanta, almost impossible with lofty construction costs. How do we feel about this?
So, it is almost impossible, and that's why we are deemed unaffordable. New construction, they're having a hard time with just kind of keeping up the demands and the cost of construction costs. So, that's where we are, but there are some promising things in some of the other articles that you're going to share, where you've got neighborhood development programs and things of that nature that are combating where the new construction to kind of solve that problem.
Yep. There you go. I just think the cost of construction keeps going up, right?
Yes.
And this is another factor of why we're in a little bit of a real estate recession is we can't build affordable housing and new construction. I remember when my career started, there was a builder, D.R. Horton, that was like the go-to first-time home buyer. They built a good quality house for a fair price and gave good incentives, worked really well with the real estate agents. And we would put almost any new buyer coming out of a clean, crisp apartment into one of their homes.
Yeah.
And you just don't see that now. I
No.
mean, the Pulte's, the Lennars, the DR Hortons, the big box builders are can't put a product on the ground affordable right now.
And they're trying in some areas.
Yeah.
We've had several of the new construction companies come in, but you know what's so great about new construction right now? When they wouldn't pay the full commission, they're doing back to full commissions, bonuses, incentives for both the buyers as well as the agents. So I would certainly look for those opportunities right now in a changing market.
Yeah. There you go. Well, and then I read this article that says affordable townhomes from ANDP partnership land in Southwest Atlanta.
Yes.
This reminds me of Panama City Beach with all the colors, but um, there are some pockets where
Mhm.
people are able to build new construction in that affordable price range, right? They're at 325 to 330.
Right.
Um, the reason I think this is such an important conversation is obviously we service all price points from high-end luxury down to affordable living. Yet there's a segment of our industry, i.e. first-time home buyers, which has always driven probably about a third of our sales on an annual basis. And they're kind of being left out a little bit because of affordability. And it's just challenging, right?
It is, but one of the things that I would add to that is in looking at some of the articles and even an update that we had in one of our meetings. Right now, we're seeing that population of people that have graduated and they've gotten their first jobs. They're actually doing a lot of hacking, and these are great opportunities in order for them to be able to get their first home as well as investment property. So I think that there's a great segment of the market that we can market to for that as well.
Absolutely. I'm trying to find, okay, here's the article I wanted to find. All right. So on Fox 5 Atlanta, they started talking about house down payments, the highest and lowest averages by city. And I started diving into this, and it says the median down payment when buying a home in the United States is $56,000, according to an analysis by Redfin. Um, so to me, I'm thinking of the person that's paying rent that wants to buy their first home. What's the length of time it would take them to save up $56,000? It's a lengthy amount of time, right? If that's the average, right, or the median.
Right.
Um, the average is up 24% from 44,000 a year ago, and the typical home buyer down payment was equal to 15% of the purchase price, which is up from 10% a year ago. And this includes costs, right? Closing costs. Um, so they're having to put more money down, which probably speaks to payments or affordability, right? Um, then if you're looking at look at these cities, these are the 10 highest average down payment percentages, 25% down to 20% in the top 10 cities. And then the lowest 10 cities, which we're not on any of these, so obviously we're in the middle. Um, Virginia Beach, Virginia was 2%. So there's got to be a lot of down payment assistance, a lot of government backed loans. And then you see a lot at 5%, but then the 10th inexpensive down payment median is 10% in Phoenix, Arizona, which means we're over that.
Yeah.
So let's say average price, call it 400,000, and our typical buyers having to put 50 grand down.
Mhm.
What
You
do
know,
we do with that information?
well, I think it's great information to see what they have been looking at. However, I do think we're going to see some trends where the FHA product is going to becoming more available. And
I've
they
been
talked
saying
about.
that for 2 years and nobody wants to talk about it.
Yes, so it is. And they've changed their guidelines actually this year to include multifamily and all types of things. So I think we will see those numbers actually really come into play. And in one of the articles, it did talk about FHA being more of a utilized tool. So I would just say go back and look at it because they've made some changes and they've made it to the point to where you can do just what I talked about, house hacking, all of those type of things for first-time home buyers and investors.
Absolutely. Last thing that I thought was interesting on this article was this. Uh, Atlanta, Georgia saw the largest increase in homes purchased with cash
Mhm.
at 46.1%. That's almost half our transactions are cash.
Believe it or
My jaw hit the floor. I knew
not.
knew we were probably a third, but 46%.
That's a huge number. And what it makes me think about is when we're talking about growth, we are seeing a lot of relocation coming in. So that is another opportunity for these networks, in order for us to be able to use that.
Yeah. So here's to what you're saying, Toya. In February, 1 in 6 homes were bought with an FHA loan.
Mhm.
FHA loans are more common than they were during the pandemic home buying boom. They represented 12% of mortgages sales in February 2022 because the market today is less competitive. I think the government backed loans are great products for low barrier of entry into real estate. Yet we as an industry got to warm up to them a little bit
Yeah.
because we typically influence the seller in the offers uh, to shy away from some of these products. Yet I think overall you're going to see more and more of that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All
And
right, go ahead.
last thing that I would add, become familiar with some of these programs that are available. When you're looking at the Atlanta Neighborhood Development Program, they do have a lot of programs that are encompassed within that in terms of down payment assistance and things of that nature.
Yeah. Uh, Put in the chat if you're in circle. If you're not in circle, we got issues, but I'm guessing you are because you're engaged and tuned in on this call. Um, but actually Luke posted an update in circle. So this is underneath the general discussion section under Heart of Atlanta, and Luke posted a summary of what we saw in the economics for Atlanta. Um, and whoever iPhone is, you better be joining Circle today. uh, you hide your name, so remain anonymous. Uh, but look, the transactions year over year in April were up 6%. So finally, we're seeing an increase in transactions over last year. We did not in February and we did not in March. We saw a slight increase in January and we saw a 6% increase in April, which I am excited about. But when looking at year to date, all FMLS has closed 1% less transactions than year to date 2023. So February and March are still holding us down on the year to date, but it's a positive sign that April's pushing forward. Um, Prices. So I say we're in a real estate recession. And when I say that, I'm talking about transaction count, but prices aren't trending the same, meaning uh, prices are up 5.33% this year compared to April last year. That's almost $20,000 more on the median home price than it was a year ago. Uh, Greater Atlanta prices are up 6.76%, which is almost 27,000 more than it was a year ago. So these are great numbers to know, right?
They are.
Um, Comparing March over April, they went up $5,600. And then Greater Atlanta went up $3,500 comparing March to April. We always see prices go up leading into the summer. The
Mhm.
question is going to be, what's the second half of the year look like?
Absolutely.
Uh, and then right now we're at 15 days on market in all FMLS. We're currently at 3.1 months of inventory, up from 2.8 months of inventory in March. So what's happening? We're putting more listings on the market, which I think is a good thing as long as demand increases and population's going up. So that should be pushing demand up. Um, Unemployment is holding at 3%, and inflation uh, reduced itself 0.1%. from 2 months ago, which is why you saw the interest rates come down a little bit.
Mhm.
And then the core CPI, if you're a economics nerd like me, came down 0.4%, which same reason we see interest rates coming down. So, uh, man, I mean, we're full of good news today, I think.
That's what I was about to say. This is good news.
Atlanta's a great market to be in. We're the sixth fastest growing market in the country right now, population wise, which is why we're seeing great price appreciation. Y'all are doing a great job of getting out there and getting listings, and the demand is starting to follow. As interest rates creep down, hopefully we'll see some sixes on them in the near future. I think predictions are great. And as Gary, I'll end on this, Toya. As Gary said, if you can survive all markets, that means you're a great business person.
Absolutely.
And if you're surviving right now, I don't know, there are a few outliers that are thriving, but if you're winning right now on most fronts, you should take that as a sign that you're doing something right. And if you're not, that doesn't mean you're bad or wrong. It just means lean in. Let's get some consultations on the calendar and uh, figure out what's foundationally missing in order for you to go win big. I saw a couple things hit the chat.
I love
Did I miss anything?
Annie put it in network, network, network. I would
Yeah,
agree, particularly this is a great season for referral business as well. So make sure that you're in those networks and joining some of these communities in order to make sure that you get your good referral business.
boom. All right, guys, we start and end on time. Have a good one.
Have a good one.